Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a kind of like twofold overdue video in that it's not only my first World of Tanks video in quite a while, but it's also our first podcast in quite a while, with me, Gitbag the Great, and as in our lot... Yes, alright, mate, listen.
Normally you sort of want me to jump in, so I thought this time
I wasn't even finished talking, mate. Alright. Mr. Busybody, Mr. Jackass. You let me introduce you, huh?
Is that my cue now?
Yes.
Okay, right. Hello, I am Flashsuppressor, trusted companion on the Gitcast. I've decided that's what we're calling it. It's the Gitcast. Do you remember last time we played, you were asking about a name for it? I think that's what...
Well, it's kind of weird. I haven't really thought of a solid name for the this whole sort of podcast series as of yet, but I suppose something along the lines of the Gitcast or the Gitbag podcast or something like that will come to fruition soon enough. But as always, this is basically a series where me and Phil just have a little podcast session, and in the background we'll be playing something like some World of Tanks, just to carry along our conversation, just to stimulate things a bit. And if the on-screen action doesn't interest you guys, by all means, just put this on in the background, just so you can listen to our marvellous voices chat about all sorts of current events. Just to quickly start off, have to bear with me a second. My computer seems to be lagging a slight bit. No. Sorry, it seems to be quite alright, actually. So, I guess the first thing would just be say, which tank do you want to start off in?
Well, I propose we start off in the Churchill 3.
Alright, yeah, sure thing.
Alright, hang on. Wait, where's my mouse on? Okay, here we go.
Alright. Okay, so, first things first, why don't you tell the nice people at home what we did yesterday?
Yesterday, Ted and I went out to the cinema, and we saw the latest Marvel film, Captain America: Civil War.
It's a quite good film. I might put in a caption or something when I upload this video or edit it, just to say to people skip to this point. But we'll just talk about it for a couple of quick minutes for those who have seen it. Yeah, I thought it was a really good film. Actually, it wasn't the best of the MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe films I've seen so far, but it certainly held itself together quite strongly.
Yes, indeed. I was really worried that they wouldn't be able to pull it off with the large number of characters they had, but no, they focused just the right amount of time on each of them. And they knew when to slow the action down or to take a break from it, to have some proper interpersonal contact. I particularly like the scenes where Vision and Scarlet Witch talk together. And I think it's nice that they're setting up a bit of a relationship between those two, because we haven't seen much of those two characters yet.
Well, I mean, Scarlet Witch is kind of fair enough, because she was only introduced in the Avengers Age of Ultron, which was only 2 films ago, so it's not really how much time.
Again, Vision is kind of also Jarvis, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, the only film released since Age of Ultron was, of course, Ant-Man, which I think, I mean, generally speaking, in terms of rankings of how I'd personally say I enjoyed the films, I'd say, personally, I enjoyed Captain America 3 more than Iron Man 2 and 3, Ant-Man, Age of Ultron, and perhaps also a little bit more than perhaps a little bit more than Thor 1, but even then it's kind of just more so on the level. So it's kind of like a middling range one, but it's a bit higher than that in all honesty, so I'd say I really enjoyed it, yeah, overall.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I actually really, really liked this one, because I thought it had just the perfect mix of action. It was a complete rush right the way through. I haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road, but I imagine this is somewhat similar in terms of the sort of constant rush that you're under when you're watching it. Now, I think this may have displaced Guardians of the Galaxy as my 3rd favourite MCU film.
I wouldn't put it as high as that. I'd say at most it's probably number 5 or so for me. In all honesty, I think in no particular order, the ones ahead of it for me would be Avengers 1, Iron Man 1, um, um, Captain America 2, and in all honesty, oddly enough, I'd probably also have to say I'd also have to say Guardians of the Galaxy actually. I'd say those four in particular, and in no particular order, are kind of what I would put in my top 5, just ahead of Captain America 3. But even still, it's a superb film. Definitely say anyone who just likes, a good chilled out night, either by themselves or with their mates or with their respectable other half, definitely go see it, because it's good. It's just a kind of an all-purpose, good fun blockbuster. It's not too challenging, like say Captain America 2 was, but yeah, definitely give it a glowing recommendation if I'm honest.
Yes, I would too, but I don't know, I would say if anything was slightly more complex than Winter Soldier, because we got more into the character of Bucky there, and it's really quite an intense psychological. I mean, Winter Soldier is like a spy thriller. This is a psychological thriller.
Yeah, I can see
very
that.
deep into the psychology of all the different characters.
I don't know. I personally think Captain America 2 is more complex than Captain America 3. It had a lot of, very in-depth and sort of quite very dark, in all honesty, themes about national security and reactionism towards the potential threat of, domestic sort of conflict, rather than, say, whereas, Captain America 3 is more so of like portraying the good and bad of a reaction, of an impromptu reaction to actual, already happened sort of death and conflict. But yeah, I mean, I can see why some would say that they prefer the deepness and the internal morals of Captain America 3. It's certainly understandable.
Yeah, so I was just really excited right the way through, and I really loved. First of all, I loved this sort of first big fight scene at the airport with
Yeah, that
all
was
the events
great.
in it. That was what we'd all come to see, and it was done absolutely spot on.
There was a
I
good.
also really liked the second fight scene, actually, the sort of climax of the film. I think it was a great choice to have just Captain America and Iron Man there, so that we really got to grips with their two sort of central conflicts.
Yeah,
We really just could focus on that. We've had the big punch up. Now it's time to sort of bring it to a conclusion.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I always thought this about the comics, and I've heard this said by multiple other people. I'm not the first one to say this by any means, but it's funny because people always consider Captain America to be the sort of young ho, sort of centre-right, sort of gallantrous leader of American propaganda in terms of comic books. When really, when you think about it, it's more so Iron Man. Iron Man's like the drinker. He fought like tons of communists during his during his initial first run between the 60s and 70s, and Captain America was really kind of just more of like a centre-left liberal sort of kind of, can't we all be friends, stick to classic American morals sort of type of bloke.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by that.
And it's funny because they actually did kind of like attempt to do something like this, like make Captain America somewhat akin to that in the 80s, when he resigned in the comics over this deal that Ronald Reagan was putting through, weirdly enough. And for a time, the creators of the comic actually replaced him with this really young-ho, kind of fascistic, sort of far-right nutcase called, I think his name's Carl Walker or something, who, eventually retired from the Captain America position and became a USA agent. He was quite a dastardly cat. But I think even if you take out all that original subtext of how they were politically portrayed in the comics, it still does portray the nuances of the two characters quite well against each other in the film. Phil?
Yes, I agree with that assessment. Yeah.
How good
No,
I
I saw both sides, and I think it was good how they could sort of do both sides realistically and relatably, so that people from either sort of team, I'll say, can still sympathise.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean by that. Interestingly, they've actually replaced Captain America in the comics again now,
Yeah, I know.
and Falcon has taken over the mantle. And one of the main villains in the new sort of comic series is basically the Ku Klux Klan leader.
Yeah, which is quite on the nose, but and a bit of a weird choice considering how the Ku Klux Klan really aren't that much of a political force in America anymore. But quite poignant though, very poignant indeed.
Yes, definitely. I'm not sure about. Well, I don't know actually whether or not they are. I mean, I hear some alarmists saying that the Ku Klux Klan is growing in strength and all that sort of thing, but
very, very slowly though. Nothing compared to like their last resurgence, which was probably around the
at their height,
50s or 60s. I mean, the height was probably more so around the 30s or so, and they had another resurgence, I believe, again sometime during the 50s and 60s, but haven't really succeeded in any significant way since then, I wouldn't say.
Yes, I would say so.
So yeah, Captain America Civil War, definitely a good film. Would definitely give it a recommendation. It's quite faithful to the comic book it's based off of, actually. So
it is, yes. I particularly like the image in the final fight of Iron Man blasting against Captain America's shield, and they're both pushing against each other. That is a direct homage to one of the final panels in the comic book.
Yeah.
And there's quite a lot of that, and I really like the cinematography in this one. The camera is sort of stable; it does what it needs to do. And interestingly, in the fight scenes, I really like. Well, first of all, I really liked how you couldn't tell what was CG and what was practical most of the time, which is always nice to see. And interestingly, I read about this when I was researching it this afternoon before coming on here. They did an interesting technique for the action sequences, whereby they lowered the frame rate, so that things seemed less blurred, so it seemed more real. And I actually, looking back on it, I can see that in the film.
Yeah,
they did do that.
Yeah, I can see where they did that personally. I did recognise a lot of the CGI, but yeah, I would agree. Overall, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too egregious like a '90s sort of disaster film. But yeah, it was just enough. It was just enough.
Yes, I should say so. I think it was all really good.
Yeah, no, definitely not my favourite MCU film, and not in my top 3, but definitely in my top 5, and just a good flick overall, I'd say. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Definitely much better than Batman vs Superman, anyway.
Well, I think that's a given, really. I mean, most films released over the last couple of years have been better than that pile of tripe. It was fucking awful, that film. I thought Man of Steel was bad, but that just took it to a whole new ballpark. I was absolutely blown away by how bad it was. And
I haven't seen it. I have no intention of seeing it. It just looks like it would be boring more than anything. I will say one thing that I think the Civil War film did quite wrong, actually.
Really?
Yes. I think it was a victim of trailer side.
What do you mean by that?
Trailer side, it's a sort of pop culture term for when the trailer for a film kind of ruins it. I mean, this is sort of something that I've seen with a lot of the Marvel films. The trailers are actually quite bad, and in this case, it sort of almost gave the entire plot away. I mean, because this is just from the trailer. Going in, I knew what the central conflict would be about. It would be about signing the Sokovia Accords, basically. And I also knew that Rhodey would get injured. I knew Spider-Man would show up.
Yeah.
I would give all that away.
Yeah.
A good trailer should be like one for The Force Awakens, where you're left asking questions rather than something that shows you what's going to happen to get you hyped up.
Although, speaking of Batman vs Superman, at least it wasn't as bad as that pile of shits trailer, where the first trailer pretty much ruins the whole of the film. It pretty much revealed the 3 main plot points, and it essentially killed off any suspense anyone had about the film if they saw the trailer. And I mean, how could you not? The trailer was everywhere as well.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the worst case of trailer side that I can think of has got to be How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Really?
Yeah, because, okay, spoiler alert for How to Train Your Dragon 2. okay, the woman in the sort of mask and so on who rides the dragon turns out to be his mother.
Yeah.
And that was revealed in the trailer.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
'Cause
that's so weird. Why did they do that?
I mean, I only saw the film with you a long time after it came out.
Yeah, I warned you before we watched the film, do not watch the trailer.
Yeah, I think I remember that, and I've never ever seen the trailer for that film, actually, even after seeing the film itself.
Yeah, no, generally, these days, I think I've learned my lesson. I'm going to avoid trailers from now on.
Yeah, that's quite a reasonable idea. I think even then it kind of it may just even turn out just to overhype the film to your sensibilities just a bit too much in any case.
Unless, of course, it's something that I'm not really that invested in, like the new Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I'm not too invested in that either. I mean, I liked the first two films quite a bit when I was younger, even the second one, as weak as it was, but yeah, I'm not feeling that enthusiastic towards this one. I don't feel like, it's been my childhood that's been tainted. I just think it's a couple of lackluster trailers for what looks like actually no, more like a couple of terrible trailers for just what looks like a run-of-the-mill lackluster film.
Yeah, so the new trailer that has come out that was on the front page of YouTube for a while, it's not the one we saw in the cinema last night, by the way.
No, I was a bit confused.
It looked okay. I mean, at the very least, I think the effects will be decent.
Yeah, the effects might be decent, yeah. I think the effects in the trailer were pretty alright. I think one thing I did disagree with a lot of naysayers about the film is that while I personally don't like either of the trailers at all, I do think the effects look decent, They look alright. So yeah, it probably will look quite nice. And the set design actually looks quite good. And Ecto 1, or Ecto 2 as it may be called now, does look pretty decent. So yeah, it might be.
Yeah, and I like the costume design as well. And I think that for the ghosts, they have a pretty great mix of practical effects of people in costumes and CGI. It's an example of CGI being used right, just from what I can tell from the trailer.
Yeah, it's just. I think the thing that's just going to probably end up killing it is the writing and a few bits of the casting. In all honesty, but hopefully it will be able to pull itself out from that rut.
You might well be right there.
I don't know. I'm willing to give it a somewhat chance, but I'm not holding my hopes up too high for it. I'm not going to be too bothered because, like I said, Ghostbusters. The original two films are good films, but I don't know, they're just not that big a part of my childhood, really, as some other people would say.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's mainly what we've been doing recently in films. I don't think either of us has been really doing much in terms of TV recently. I might rewatch The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra sometime soon, but that's really all I've done in terms of visual medium. I mean, we did discuss actually when we were preparing for this episode what we've been doing recently in terms of books, and you had quite a few books to talk about, didn't you? That you said you've been.
Yes, I did. I've got one right next to me now. It's by C.S. Lewis, a collection of his short stories entitled "Of Other Worlds."
Yeah.
And it's preceded by a couple of sort of essays of his. Regarding fiction, regarding fantasy, science fiction, regarding writing for children, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I really like C.S. Lewis. He may well be my favourite author.
Mm.
He seems to have a real respect for his audience, particularly children. My favourite quote from this book is when he says, "A book not worth reading in adulthood is not worth reading at any time."
Yeah.
I really respect him for that.
Yeah,
the essays and short stories in it are quite good. I mean, there's one that's sort of an interesting sort of psychological thriller in there, and I just generally like his other books as well. I like Narnia, and I like things like Screwtape Letters. All well worth a read. Yes. Other than that, I have bought the first volume of the Heir to the Empire series.
Yeah.
Which I can't wait to read. I'm told it's good, but I can't give you any promises. And a very interesting book that I've been reading recently is one entitled He's Back. Have you heard of that?
No.
Well, it was originally a German book. I've got it in the German version because I speak German. And the setup is in a very Kafkaesque fashion. Hitler just wakes up in the middle of modern day Berlin. Basically been time warped straight out of 1945.
Yeah.
And he gets mistaken for a Hitler impersonator.
Right.
And he sort of uses modern day social media to spread his message, but everyone thinks he's just pretending. And I'm only halfway through with it. I don't know how it's going to end. Is he maybe going to be put in a loony bin? Is he going to win? Is he going to get Germany and the rest of the world to follow him again? Or is he perhaps going to see the error of his ways? I don't know yet. Whatever the case, it's a very compelling book. And it's all written in the style of one of his speeches.
Yeah, it's
Same sort of aggressive language. I mean, there's some brilliant scenes where he turns on a computer for the first time, and an entire chapter is literally just that, him browsing Wikipedia. But the way it's written is so brilliant. You're just sucked into it. And it's so effective at sort of making you think. Like, sometimes he sort of goes on about how television is being used for banal idiocy and it should be used to distribute vital information to the people. And there's all sorts of things like that all the time. And you just sometimes find yourself thinking, yeah, this man has the right idea, and then you realize, oh shit.
Yeah, you're talking about Hitler, of all people.
Yeah, and that's why it's so effective.
Yeah,
It's a very interesting book. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah,
It's turned into a film recently as well.
I think he was a bit. I mean, some people say he was a bit before his time. Really, I think the problem was that he wrote in such a unique way that people didn't really want to read into his more in-depth stuff. I mean, it wasn't that he was unsuccessful, and I don't think he was unpopular at all. It's just that some of his more in-depth metaphysical sort of stuff, like what you just mentioned there, I think, got kind of pushed under the limelight a bit, which is a bit sad.
Well, this C.S. Lewis.
Yeah. I mean, not all of his work, of course. Some of it was immensely popular, and he is rightly recognised as one of the greatest writers of all time. But yeah, I don't know. I think most of his work should have been equally as popular, really. But yeah, no, it's a good read. That I think I'm more of an Anthony Beevor person myself, who I follow more so because of the fact that he just writes a lot of historical journals, which I'm more into as a history student. So I particularly like his Berlin and Stalingrad books. Stalingrad book in particular I've read like 7 or 8 times now. It's a great, great book.
Yeah, just so you know, it wasn't C.S. Lewis who wrote the Hitler book.
It wasn't?
No, this is a German book written by a German author. This is a different one.
I didn't quite catch that. Sorry, I'm going to sound like a right div now towards everyone who's watching this.
Yeah, sorry, I should have been a bit clearer.
God damn it, Phil.
That's right, blame me. Oh no.
Why you do this to me?
You give me too much credit.
Oh.
No, that's just some of the books I've been reading. I mean, you were telling me about a couple that you had been into.
Well, in terms of books, I haven't read too much recently. Mainly recently, my most of my reading has been with research for my last couple of assessments for the end to our second year of university. But
actually,
I've also been reading a lot of newspapers, which I'll talk about in a sec. But in terms of books, the one book I've mainly been reading recently has been this book called hang on a sec, just have to give me a moment just so I can get at it, just so I can have a look at what its title is, because it's quite a bit of a long-winded title. Doesn't mean it's bad at all, it's just still a great book. Give me a moment, I just have to get this bloody... Oh wait, no, the SU-100 was killed for me. Give me a moment. Let's see, this book, what is it called? It's called... Oh yeah, it's called Battle for the Valley by Rick Everett. And the tagline is the story of how Charlton Athletic left home and the remarkable campaign to bring the club back. I mean, as some of my subscribers might know, I'm a very avid, although to be honest, in light of recent events, somewhat tepidly so. I'm a very avid Charlton Athletic supporter. My favourite and, to be honest, childhood football club. And basically it's the tale of how leading up to how Charlton left their home ground in 1985, and then spent the next 7 years playing at either Crystal Palace or West Ham United. And it's just a bizarre tale of politicking, financial troubles, just all sorts of crazy stuff that typified how Charlton's been run over the last half a century, and just English football in general. It's a great book, and very, very well researched and stuff. And definitely would give it a recommendation to anyone who's into football or anything at all. It's actually published by I don't think it's published particularly by the actual club itself, but rather by the Voice of the Valley, which is more of an independent sort of a spokesperson fan group, really. But it's quite a good read. It's quite sort of just it's more of like a bibliography sort of book of just all the crazy shit that went down leading up to this big move away from the Valley, which is Charlton's home ground, and the 7 years after that. It was just a mad tale. It'd take quite a while to explain, but I'd definitely give it a recommendation. It's a great story.
Well, that sounds interesting, particularly if you're a sports fan.
Yeah, I mean, the more important thing, though, really, when you're writing a bibliographical sort of account of something like that, or Stalingrad, really, is more so the fact that you just have to get your information right, do a lot of research, get a lot of first-hand quotations and resources. And the guy who wrote this, Rick Everett, he's done an absolutely marvellous job on it, I must say. Really, really good research on this job. Loads and loads of first-hand sort of quotations as well. Really, really well done. And not just how this sort of move affected Charlton, but also how it affected Crystal Palace, Millwall, Catford United, West Ham United, Gillingham, loads of clubs around the sort of northern Kent area and southeast London. It's great book. But that's really kind of the only thing I've been reading recently. I think I'm generally reading more newspapers than books, whereas you've been reading more books, really, recently. So there's not really much other I can say about Battle for the Valley other than, go buy it. It's a good book. Even if you're not a Charlton Athletic supporter, I'd say still give it a check out. But in terms of newspapers, I've mainly just been sticking to the Times, as always, considering it's probably the best, in all honesty, out of the papers I regularly get. And one I feel has, even years after it's been introduced, is still a bit of an underdog, is and also The Independent as well.
Yeah, fascinating.
A bit of a variation, because is a bit more trendy, but it's also quite concise and it's to the point. It's nice and cheap as well. It's only usually about 40 pence, and then The Independent is a bit more upgrade or upmarket from that, and it's a bit more impartial as well. I think The Times is probably the most well written and most prestigious out of the three. It's probably not the most impartial though, so I try to read those three in equal amount as much as possible to get as just as generally as much of a balance of things as possible in my news. Although I kind of to be honest, I like them all equally. So though that's what I've mainly been reading recently, just keeping day to day with news.
That sounds interesting. I typically read the Times more than anything, but I should try out the then, if it's as good as you say.
Yeah,
try the Independent as well before it goes into digital only. We've had a couple of interesting conversations about this before.
Yeah, no, it was weird because I remember when we left the cinema last night and we went to have dinner at that local Indian place. I remember we saying it's kind of sad in a way that print sort of news is kind of very much going out of style and very much going out of business. But
after so many centuries, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. But the idea of, or the movement of, particularly the Independent towards, and the Observer as well, actually, to be honest, towards going more so towards a digital subscriber base and distribution, is, it's got some good and bad points to it, but really more so than anything, it's kind of just a shifting industry rather than being inherently good or bad. Now, there's nothing really inherently good or bad you can say about it other than the fact that it's just the way the cookie crumbles. It's just the way the industry flows in this day and age, I suppose.
Yeah, so that's a valid argument. I don't know. It's just it seems to me that when you put things purely online, but then you don't have a sort of subscription system like Thing, it then lends itself very much to native advertising and clickbait journalism, that sort of thing, to the point where worry about the future integrity and quality of journalism is not entirely inappropriate.
No, yeah, but then the good part about it is the fact that it's much easier for the customer to process, it's much easier for them to buy, and it's much easier to distribute as well, to be honest. And not only that, but it's also that means it can also be produced a lot faster, so maximum profit can be, bringing that dollar much quicker and in much greater proportions. So I do think there is good and bad to it.
Yes, I agree. And as long as change is managed properly, it's no reason to start sort of crying rue murder or anything.
No, I mean, it's not like the time Blockbuster once tried to go full digital and completely abandon their DVD distribution service, and it ended up just collapsing all around them. It's one of the main reasons why they're now almost completely defunct.
Yes, I'd heard about that. No, they obviously didn't move into the digital quite as fast as they would have had to if they had wanted to keep it all, if they had
unlike Love Film and Netflix, who did it very slowly, very gradually, and were able to still maximise profits as much as they could while they changed. But Blockbuster is one of the biggest collapses I think I've ever seen in business. I think the only one that really could top it is the fall of Pan American Airlines in the late 90s, after they started offering off free airline tickets. And it was just an absolute disaster, and they ended up going pretty much bankrupt in a couple of years.
Yeah, no, that sounds awful. Yeah.
It was probably the biggest business flop of all time, really. It was just a disaster.
Yeah. Not quite as terrible for the world economy as Lehman Brothers or anything like that, but still.
No, I think the Lehman Brothers was more bigger of an impact on just the general scale of how it affected all the people around it. But I'm saying singularly, internally within a company, the Pan American Airlines thing for me was probably a bit more extreme, because it happened so much more quickly. It happened over the space of probably about a year, and pretty much eradicated the entire company. Whereas with Lehman Brothers, it took about 2 or 3 years for them to be dissolved, and even then, many people tried to restore them back with government subsidies, and it was a long-running thing. But with Pan Am, it was just and then they were pretty much gone because of a terrible, terrible policy decision.
Yes, Lego nearly bankrupted itself as well a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
they sold off Legoland and everything. It was after they made, I think it was a couple of pretty bad investment decisions.
Yeah.
In, taking on various properties that wouldn't work, and just fallen sales generally because of a lack of demand for consumer products. The thing that sort of pretty much single-handedly saved Lego was Lego Star Wars.
Yeah. It's just quite ingenious little sort of invention.
Yes, indeed. And of course, since then, the Lego Movie has made it into the world's most popular toy brand.
Once again.
Yeah.
I mean, people forget, it still was the world's most popular toy brand at least a couple of years before the Lego Movie came out. It's just the fact that it had slightly sort of started to stagnate a little bit. So,
yeah.
Hence the reason why the Star Wars games and the Batman Lego games and the Lego Movie ended up just sort of generally revitalising everything, I suppose. Though, to be honest with you, I think probably one of, if not the greatest business ventures that saved a corporation or a big company that outdoes that possibly to an even greater extent is when Amazon introduced their Amazon Prime service and Amazon Video, and basically within about a year and a half saved themselves from just stagnating.
Were they ever in danger?
Not really to the same extent that say Lego or someone like that was, but they weren't like flatlining or going downhill, but they were just a bit stagnating really around the end of the 2000s. So they introduced that, and ever since then they've pretty much just been on cloud nine. I mean, I use Amazon Video quite a lot regularly, and I have Amazon Prime, which is a marvellous service. So yeah, I've
Getting
never...
paid to say that.
Sorry?
Are you getting paid to say that?
No, I'm fucking not. I believe you me. I will only say something is worth buying if I actually have bought it myself without reason.
Good show.
Not some fucking corporate bumbag sort of ball liquor. Believe you me.
Good show.
Don't you dare accuse me of such heinous crimes either, you slanderous man candy.
What on earth? That is one of the weakest insults I have ever heard.
Shut up!
Slanderous man candy. I say, what an absolute bounder this chap sounds like. What a complete cad.
Oh, shut up, you dick.
That's more like it.
You pillock.
That's the Gitbag I know.
Oh, God. So yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I would say, at the end of that little run, I would say, I think, yeah, we came to the eventual agreement last night that papers going digital or print is neither good or bad. I mean, it's just a kind of flow of the industry. I think there is a lot of bad that a lot of people tend to concentrate on, and which is fair enough, but ultimately it's just the way the industry goes. And we've seen this before with like other industries such as digital distribution or video games and such. It's just the way things go, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. And as long as businesses don't evolve, well, I suppose if we take a neoliberal view of it, it's only right and proper that inefficient businesses should fail.
World Championship Wrestling. God, their collapse is just a tale for the ages, honestly. The fact that they were bought out by WWE like a couple of years later after their initial collapse and for like a fraction of the price was just unbelievable. I suppose, so that's the initial bit of, like, films and, like, business and, like, you know, papers and all that malarkey gotten out the way, done with and all that juicy stuff. But, what else did we talk about recently?
Well, we talked about the Academies Bill.
The Academies Bill. Oh, yes.
The government's latest, is it the latest or is the health crisis the latest? I'm not sure, but it's yet another disaster that has caused an absolute U-turn on the government's part. Basically, the gist of it was that all schools in England would be run like businesses with full control over their own funding rather than councils having the full control. Yeah. Which doesn't sound like a bad idea in theory, but in practice it would have meant a lot less diversity in teaching. It would have meant, you know, poorer people generally being disadvantaged because poorer areas would have had less funding and so on. And yeah, no, it was just a sort of bad idea from the get-go, pretty much, I'm afraid.
I mean, it's weird because, like, the thing is, I come from quite a sort of centre-left upbringing. But I do believe in the ultimate sort of unifying value and sort of commonly beneficial, maybe not perhaps universally mutual beneficial, but the commonly beneficial aims and effects of free market sort of economics. I mean, of course, it does need a bit of government interventionism here when the market like really fluctuates badly, but for the most part, I think it works. But there are times when I do say that, you know, some of what those who might adhere to it are certainly going the wrong way. I wouldn't even say, though, that the Academy Bill was a market of capitalism, more so a market of just not thinking your fucking ideas through. I mean, we discussed this before. No one thought it was a good idea.
No, no, I mean, even Conservative councillors and Conservative backbench MPs and so on, they were dead set against it.
I mean,
It made Cameron look like an absolute fool in Parliament when Corbyn just read out this list of all the members of Cameron's party who disliked the idea.
I mean, it's just a shocking thing when you see that, liberals, socialists, anarchists, conservatives, capitalists, communists, social democrats, literally everyone, even the people who, academies might benefit to a certain degree, all of them thought, like, if not most of them, thought it was a terrible idea. I can't count on, like, a million hands how many capitalist or free market economic scientists I heard talking about it who thought it was a stupid idea, because you just can't run a school like a business. It is just not compatible with the core principles of running an educational facility.
Indeed, yes. I mean, well, one of the interesting things, my landlord is the governor at a local college slash high school slash primary school, and
Yeah.
he was sort of dead set against it, and he just sort of told me about how it had been completely hacked. So there was no idea precisely what the policy would entail, even if it was bad. They had no idea what they would be doing. And yeah, it was just it would have meant massive reduction in the number of teachers that they would have had and the number of subjects that they could teach in school. The school would have been forced to sort of become a specialised college in short. So
I remember.
yeah,
I
entirely
remember.
bad idea.
I remember around the time of the early 2010s when, academies were being introduced, not of course on the scale that this bill recommended, but they were gradually being introduced up and down the country, and the sixth form I was in was turned into a college. And even then, on that small of a scale, most people, including the students, thought it was a terrible idea. Honestly, it's a terrible idea. Like I said, I personally believe free market economics, when, combined with a decent level of, safety from, like, total fluctuation, can be a decent thing, but you just can't apply the same sort of business model to an educational institution. Like I said, literally, like, no one thought it was a good idea. Even conservatives who were a part of the party putting it through thought it was a bad idea. Honestly, it just baffles me sometimes. And the fact that, we've seen this current government have, like, more controversies in, like, the last year than it did in its first 5-year run, fast 5-year term after 2010 is just astounding, really.
I know, no, it was a total ego project on the part of the education sector.
Yeah, I don't like the education secretary we've got right now, personally. I'm sure they're a nice person in private, but God, I just don't like them that much. Although, to be honest with you, some people you might say, like, do seem like quite nice people, turned out to be monsters in private. Like, again, speaking of wrestling, the famous wrestler JBL, who seems like a bit of a by-a-gun sort of swashbuckling, hearty soul, but apparently behind the scenes is a bit of a bastard. So, yeah, I don't know. It's
Japanese philosophy. People have three faces. There's the one that they show to the world, there's the one that they show to their close friends and family, and there's the one that they keep entirely for themselves. Rather interesting way of looking at it, but there we go.
Yeah, I think that's very true. The Japanese have a very large number of very apt philosophies to their name.
Indeed.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be an ego trip. I think it is more so just the fact that the policy just was really shittily thought through, really. I mean, it could very well be in part that it was an ego trip, but I think it more so was just the fact that it just wasn't very well thought through. May have had noble intentions, but ultimately it was just a terribly, terribly thought through idea.
No. But there's some good news. There's finally talks, and I think even an agreement has been reached on the subject of the junior doctors' strike.
I'm glad they finally managed to reach something of a deal. I mean, it probably won't be fully resolved for quite a while yet, but at least the doctors are getting something. They deserve a hell of a lot more than they're getting at the moment.
Yes, indeed. No, that's in a way it seems like just another pretty poorly thought out policy. I mean, it's a pretty nice soundbite, 7-day NHS. But what's that supposed to mean? Emergency care is 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And if you want to have routine care 7 days a week, well, just doing the junior doctors is nowhere near good enough. You need to get all the support staff, cleaners, receptionists, radiographers, nurses, carers, all that sort of thing in as well.
Yeah.
There's just no way. And the whole thing was based on a flawed idea in the first place, because the justification for it was that there are higher death rates at weekends. But that's simply because only sort of more serious people go to hospital at the weekends, who are more likely to die.
Yeah,
so,
because of the onset of weekend drinking and partying on Fridays and weekends.
There's that as well, yes.
No, I mean that's commonly contributed as being one of the main factors behind that at the weekend, particularly in America and Britain.
Yeah, so that wouldn't surprise me, definitely. And also, of course, public events that could either turn dangerous in some way or actively violent, they're also held at weekends.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think. Yeah, they're so overworked. Public doctors. They need more pay. They need more, just better working conditions, really, and they need more concessions. I mean, the amount of stuff they've had over the last 10 years have been so incremental. It's just I don't know. I'm glad they're at least getting some concessions though, because I mean, there's a couple of people in my extended family who are in the NHS, and then one of my housemates, his dad is a doctor, a surgeon, so to speak, and so it's nice to hear that they're at least getting something, at last.
Yes, indeed.
I think.
Now, I have nothing but support for the junior doctors in this. I mean, sometimes they're you can see both sides of an argument, but in this case, just no, there's no justification for the government's way they handled this at all.
Yeah.
It's bad from start to finish. Now, the other, what other sort of big news is there? Happened in the last couple of weeks while we've been revising away.
Well, I mean, that's probably the next one to talk about, actually, is the fact that we've finally finished our second year examinations. So essentially our second year of university is done and dusted.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, I mean, we're not...
2/3 of the way through our degree.
Yeah, it's weird to think how far it's gone now. I mean, I first started uploading YouTube videos at the beginning of 2014, but the sense of me going to university quite, as a sort of a full-time thing, it didn't really hit in until halfway through my first year. And it's crazy to think, it feels like literally it's been less than half a year and already we've done 2 years of this shit.
I know, and it was just so intense, and you're kept so busy. You're always enjoying yourself the entire time, even when you kind of think you're not. You're doing without this stuff. No, you're still enjoying yourself. You still feel like you're doing something worthwhile.
Yeah, ultimately, as hard as it has been, I have enjoyed most, if not all, of my time at university. Definitely. It's been great. I mean, there's been problems at times with applying for student finance. There's been problems at times with joining the gym or talking to women, or just sort of usual thing you'll get into when you're at university. But it's kind of part of the experience, really. I mean, but yeah, overall, yeah, it's been well worth it, despite any misgivings I've had or any troubles that I've had since joining university.
Absolutely. I mean, my time here has definitely been well spent. I've discovered so many new hobbies. I've learned how to assert myself much better. I've learned how to function as sort of an independent adult, just in general. Learning life skills, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Being part of things like the sports club committee and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
All worthwhile and well worth doing.
Yeah.
No, it is sort of quite astonishing. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to think about what we want to do afterwards.
I think afterwards I might want to find a job and get some place in Brighton, because it's still quite an expensive place to live in compared to most of the UK. But compared to
For
where
first-time buyers, it is the highest, most expensive city to live in Britain. Was on the news a couple of months ago.
no, I think it's still London, to be honest. I mean, where I come from, I'd still much rather try to get a place here than in where I come from in London.
Of course, of course, my thing was referring exclusively to houses,
Yeah.
bought flats rather than rented accommodation. But yeah.
Yeah, no, rented accommodation here isn't too bad, but I mean, it's still quite pricey for like a lot of areas in the UK. But I mean, as expensive as this is for like first-time buyers, I still think it's cheap as chips as compared to London, and hence the reason why I want to try and work towards getting a place here, even if it's just a studio flat.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a pretty nice deal. I mean, yeah, if you're working, studying here, you got yourself a nice little flat, maybe overlooking the sea. That'll be pretty nice.
No, like I said, even if it's just like a small studio flat, I'd still, kind of want to get a place here because it's just a bit more affordable than London. Not massively more affordable, but just a tiny bit. So yeah, I mean, the truck keeps on rolling, so to speak. It's just kind of awe-inspiring, really. Just to think that it's pretty much almost 2 years up already now. It literally feels like just the other day my mum was dropping me off, and we went for like a fried breakfast. When she dropped me off at first year halls. Yeah.
I remember when my mum dropped me off at first year halls. It does seem like just a couple of months ago more than anything.
Yeah, no, I remember it quite.
She sort of sat me down and told me how much she loved me and that she had herself a wee cry, and then she gave me the sex talk.
That what?
That sort of thing. She made me
Sorry?
not to go out with any girls who looked too slutty. But there we go.
Oh yeah.
It made her feel better.
I suppose so. At least it's something to console her that her little boy won't be doing any salacious acts with unveritable females, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, no, it was kind of the same with me. I mean, my mum, lives in London, of course, and she came down. She stayed in a little hotel in Brighton for a couple of days, and I think she was also visiting a friend at the time as well. So, and then she just dropped us off, gave me my stuff. We just put it all in my room on the first day, and then on the last day, but when she left for London, we just went to the Eat Central Cafe on University of Sussex campus, and she had some fruit salad, I had a fry up, and we just talked, and she said the same thing as your mum said, just how much she loved us, and just to call her if I needed something, and just the usual sort of concerned mum sort of stuff, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and then my mum sort of came and helped me settle in as well. She came over for a couple of days, and then as soon as she left, sort of after everyone in the sort of student halls had settled in, we all got together and immediately started sort of socialising, which is a very good thing to do. I mean, definitely, if you're going to university for the first time, you want to get to know your flatmates pretty much on the first night, really. And, just sort of have a drink and that kind of thing, and bond. That's good advice there.
Yeah, I remember one of the first things I did actually in my Freshers Week was I bought an 18-pack of bottles of Budweiser, and just over the next day and a half just got clobbered with my new flatmates. Just got absolutely sloshed, and which was good. It was a good bonding sort of thing, really, as drunk as I was.
Yeah, I bought cake and Iron Brew, but there we go.
Oh, Iron Brew. I've really been getting into that recently, actually, as well.
I haven't had much in a while. I've really been cutting down on sort of the number of sugary drinks I've been eating and so on.
Yeah, same here. I don't really drink.
These days I drink water primarily.
Yeah, same.
I used to drink sort of mostly fruit juices mixed with sparkling water, but even that has a fairly high sort of sugar content in it.
Yeah, to be honest with you,
I do occasionally still treat myself.
To be honest with you, I only really drink fizzy drinks whenever I go to the cinema or on birthdays or something.
Yeah, fair enough.
God, yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just crazy to think. I think that's probably the main thing that's been dominating my mind. As much as we discussed about possibly talking about some recent news topics, that is what's possibly been weighing most on my mind recently, even considering the film that we recently saw, is just the fact that 2 years is up. Holy shit. You know?
Yeah. My goodness me, yes.
God, yeah. I mean, we did talk about some like potential news topics, but that has been the main thing in my mind recently. That and just finishing my end of year assessments anyway.
Yeah, the only other sort of news topics that I know of that have sort of really come up recently are, yeah, like things like, well, obviously there's the latest jet that's most likely been shot down
I
and
know, it's
all
terrible.
that sort of thing, but that's not a pleasant
No,
topic conversation for a podcast, is it?
we'll just leave that with the quick epitaph that hopefully no one, our viewers know has been involved in it, and that hopefully, justice will be served, and that all of love and support goes out to the people affected by this, because it is genuinely a terrible thing to have happened.
Absolutely, yeah.
On to lighter pastures, one would say.
Yes, indeed. Let's think. What nice thing has happened? Well, a cure for paralysis has been invented.
Or at least sort of somewhat developed to a certain degree.
Yeah, kind of.
It's not been outright invented yet.
No,
I mean,
but for the first time ever, somebody with a shattered spinal cord can walk again. That's grounds for celebration.
Yeah, which is amazing, because I know people who have like spinal injuries, who have multiple sclerosis, multiple cordis. It's just like, it's unbelievable. As someone who's known people suffering from this kind of thing for a long time, it's just unbelievable, it really is. And the fact that it's just been such an enigma to the point of like even being as hard to solve as the cure for cancer for so long. Honestly, it's just incredible. I'd say it's probably the biggest health story to come out of just anywhere really this year so far. Probably will end up being the biggest health and science story this year, really, if I'm honest.
Yes, indeed. Another thing that's kind of interesting has been the development of a scuba diving robot for the first time ever.
Yeah, which you're very much interested in, because
yes, naturally. It was used to salvage items from a wreck in the Mediterranean.
Yeah,
where humans couldn't reach.
Yeah, because for those who are watching this at home, if they don't know, Flashsuppressor is actually on the where he's in the University of Sussex Scuba Diving Society.
That's right. Yeah, put a link in the description to our sort of web page there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I bet you were like fascinated by that when it came out.
Yes, indeed. Almost as fascinated as I was by Boaty McBoatface.
Oh, that just pissed me off.
That's what happens when you let the internet loose on something.
I know, but it's like, what were they thinking? Why don't you just come up with something creative, you unimaginative fucknuts? Well, sorry, I know, you're right. What do you expect when you give something like that to the internet? But honestly, like, such a just shite name for a boat. I mean, it's like, they did end up going through with it in part because they named one of the observation craft attached onto the boat as Boaty McBoatface, but I'm glad they ended up naming it after David Attenborough.
Yes, his 90th birthday recently.
Yeah, God, I can't believe he's 90 of all ages.
Still doing it. Did you see his documentary on the Great Barrier Reef?
I saw a little bit, yeah, it was fascinating. I must get some more of that on demand. Yeah, no, he's still going at it, and he's still as good as ever at doing it. Absolute legend. I think he is probably my favourite documentary maker, without a doubt.
Yeah, I would go with that, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to sort of imagine when someone becomes like literally an institution in of themselves as a person of a certain industry or genre of TV and film, but I do think he has achieved it.
Yeah, I quite agree. Wait, what happened there? Did we run out of time? Or?
No, the opposing team capped our base.
Oh, got it.
I wasn't going to survive much longer anyway. I was on barely like 10% health and my engine was damaged. Barely. I don't know how I even survived that one. Actually, let's go in with Churchill 3s again, actually.
Yeah, alright.
Yeah, not much else really has happened in the news recently. We did.
No, I know. There's been kind of a dearth of sort of topic-ready conversation topics, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's just that's what I was thinking. Recently, most of the news happening recently, aside from that terrible tragedy in the Indian Ocean and that sort of and like you said, the stem cell research thing. Though apart from those things, most of what has just been coming out recently in the last week or two, I think, has just been kind of conversation starters, really. Which is
Yeah.
a bit disappointing, but just create for some good little, at least little snippets of conversation. I mean,
Yeah.
what was it? Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, before we started recording, we were talking about the incident recently in the Canadian Parliament where
You need to watch footage of that. That would be great.
yeah, no, it's fucking hilarious. It's weird as shit, but basically the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who I don't personally like, just because I find him a bit creepy, to be honest, but he honestly, he just weirds me out, really. But he was recently reprimanded quite considerably, actually, for manhandling someone in the Canadian Parliament. I think it was someone was not being allowed to go through, and he basically pushed them through or manhandled them through, not in an abusive way, but just like very impatiently. And he was reprimanded quite severely over the last couple of days in Canadian Parliament for acting quite so unprofessionally. I mean, the thing is, you'd expect like a whip or a bodyguard to do something like that, but not the bloody Prime Minister.
No, I mean, honestly, I mean, I know he's sort of quite a tough, physically active chap, but that was taking things a bit too far.
Yeah,
I mean, he seemed sort of quite mild mannered, I mean, sort of ordinary liberal.
Like I said, I don't personally like him that much, but even if I did like him, I'd still think I would just say, look, dude, that's a bit unprofessional. Leave it to your bodyguard to take care of this shit, alright? I mean, you're the leader of a sovereign democracy. You're the head of state.
Well, he's not technically the head of state.
Sorry, technically not the head of state, but the head of government, at least.
Yeah.
You really should not be doing that. Like, if anything, your detractors are just going to leap on that, and they're really going to be tearing into you for it.
Yeah, indeed. No, that was.
And he has got.
Well, everybody has an embarrassing gaffe on occasion. It's not like our Prime Minister is any exception.
No, and to be fair, I mean, most of the criticisms, I think, towards Trudeau have been towards his policies and his attitude, really, more than anything. He hasn't had any outright goofs, like, say, the former Australian Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, who's an absolute prat.
Oh, yeah, I can't stand him.
God, I can't stand it. The fact that, you're an Englishman from Germany, I'm an Englishman from London, and yet even we, two men who've never been to Australia, still can't stand him.
I know, no, he is just awful.
And the thing is, I've talked to Australian people who are both liberals, I've talked to Australian conservatives, I've talked to Australian socialists. Literally, none of them like him. It's like the whole conundrum about George Bush. I talked to quite a few American conservatives when I went on to this trip to Thailand a few years ago, and loads of them said we just don't know how he got into office twice. He's such an idiot, and I think a lot of Australians feel the same way about Abbott. He was just phenomenally incompetent and had so many gaffes to his name that you just don't know how he got into office. Regardless of the fact that he actually did have quite an established background in Australian politics, he's just an idiot. Even if his policies were well considered, the fact that he was just so unbelievably terrible in interviews and speaking is just staggering.
Yeah, you sort of wonder how you make it to be leader of the party, never mind leader of the country. No, that was embarrassing.
No, it's more like a comedy act, if I'm honest. Yeah, no, that was very unprofessional of the Canadian Prime Minister to be doing all that manhandling sort of shindig, really.
Other than that, did you hear about our Prime Minister's embarrassing incident with the Queen when he, the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Queen, the Home Secretary and so on were all sort of standing discussing the upcoming anti-corruption summit?
Mm.
And the Prime Minister said, we've got leaders of fantastically corrupt countries coming, like Afghanistan and Nigeria. And he was on camera. And then the Queen was filmed saying that the Chinese ambassadors, the Chinese premier when they came, had been very rude and so on. So Bit of an embarrassing incident.
Yeah, that's more so just to do with personal clashes, really. I mean, but yeah, it's not really the kind of thing you want to be caught saying on camera, so to speak, when whether you're the head of state or the head of government. God, yeah, I think. Let's see. Is there anything else recently? There's been quite a few things in sport recently. For any of those who are interested. One particular big thing actually recently. Not to get too concentrated on this because it is quite dark. Is former Tottenham and Newcastle United player David Ginola. Don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was a French player.
No, I'm not too keyed up on any team other than Saints, pretty much. Or no, thanks to you, Charlton Athletic.
No, yeah, I just saw this thing that said David Ginola recently had a heart attack, and he's alive, and he's on the mend, but he's said to be lucky to be alive after having a quadruple heart bypass.
Goodness me.
Yeah, God gracious me.
Well, yeah. No, the sort of other sports story, the one that I've sort of been following, is the Invictus Games. I watched a couple of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very interesting how they're sort of organised, how they've actually become pretty popular. I think Prince Harry's lending his name to it, sort of been a great help with that. And I really liked it. I mean, it was an entertaining sport. I watched the wheelchair basketball and various other things.
It's not something really I'd watch frequently. It's just personal taste, but I am very glad it's getting more and more popular because it deserves to be popular. Really, it's for a good cause ultimately.
Yeah, and it shows some really good sportsmanship on occasion. Like they occasionally have people who sort of, they usually actually haven't been training very long at all, and everybody's there, even though they're all playing to win. Definitely, it's not sort of a rivalistic, nasty atmosphere. Everybody's supportive of each other. They all cheer on the sort of final swimmer coming along in last place who's just trying their level best. No, it's a really nice, encouraging thing to see.
Yeah, not like anything you'd see on the scale of, say, what, I don't know, like, say, the NHL was in the 1970s or something, but, it is nice to see that good level of sportsmanship and just relaxed competitiveness towards a very noble aim. I think a very stark contrast would be the recent events surrounding the finals of the Europa League football competition between Liverpool and Sevilla, where Liverpool and Sevilla have been both charged by the football board UEFA for crowd trouble when they played the final of the Europa League tournament at Basel Stadium, and basically, it was just a massive scuffle after the game when Liverpool lost 3-1. It's quite unsportsmanly, really. It's quite terrible as well. It's probably the only major real sort of like unsporting story I've really heard recently, but it's just quite a stark contrast to the Invictus Games, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Very, very unfortunate, but the other sort of big sporting thing that's happening recently that I'm not going to really talk about much now because it hasn't happened yet is the upcoming Saturday's FA Cup final, English FA Cup final between Manchester United and Crystal Palace, which I'm probably going to go see at the pub on Sky Sport. Have a nice couple of pints while watching the game. Personally, as a Charlton supporter, I'm kind of hoping. Oh shit! Sorry about that. I accidentally shot you.
Not great. I got shot by the other chap as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally hoping Manchester United will win because of the fact that I'm a Charlton supporter, so I can't really wish for Crystal Palace to do well. Although, if someone wants to support Crystal Palace, it's well within their right. But there's not too many sporting news recently, apart from those few bits and bobs. That's something crazy. I think Maria Sharapova, that tennis player, is being charged even more about her recent salacious activities, isn't she? I can't find any more information about it.
I have no clue about that. I can't give you any conversation material for that at all now.
No, I can't find it anyway. I can't find any more extra information on that. But she's basically been charged even further for her salacious activities, I think, around cheating and stuff. Which is quite sad, really, because she used to have such a glowing career in tennis, which is really irritating, really. I suppose the topics, really.
Yes, other than that, I don't know that there's even been any exciting news from the American election. I mean, that's all gone quiet now that everyone knows it's going to be Trump v. Clinton. Well, I don't know. It could still be Trump v. Sanders, but honestly, I think it's going to be Trump v. Clinton.
I do think it was a bit unsporting of that what's the third guy's name? He's been everywhere recently.
Ted Cruz. Bernie
Yeah.
Sanders. Yeah.
No, Ted Cruz. I thought it was a bit unsporting of him that he basically just passed out the moment he saw that he was losing any at all.
Well, he saw that he had lost completely. Once he lost Indiana, there was just no way he could make up the numbers to beat Trump at all. And,
No.
yeah, it was just, that was his last hurrah. Well, actually, it wasn't the last hurrah, it was the last sort of gasp and the flapping around on the bottom of the boat.
I mean, the thing is, I don't think there was anything inherently wrong with the fact that he did end up sort of ultimately giving up. I mean, it's not really fair to...
No, I mean, it costs a lot of money to run for president, and if you're not going to win, funders are going to pull out. It's just no longer a viable project.
Yeah, I think the big problem a lot of people have is in the way he did it, which was very much just quite sort of... seems a bit weaselly, but ultimately I don't think there's inherently wrong with the fact that he did ultimately have to pull out, because it's just kind of a lost cause, really.
No, I really don't like Ted Cruz. I'd even sooner have Trump in charge, to be quite honest.
Yeah, no, I don't really like him personally either. I don't like Trump at all, to be honest, but yeah, personally can't stand Cruz at all. He's just a bit weaselly.
Trump has said some stupid things, but Cruz has actually done some pretty horrible stuff in his day.
Like what again? I mean, you told me
he
about...
filibustered for 21 hours to stop Obamacare. He's trying to get rid of the Department of Education because he thinks that states should have the right to basically not teach evolution and whatever else.
Yeah, fucking idiot. I can't believe he did that thing about...
the worst thing about American evangelism.
Yeah, God, I can't believe...
Father's a preacher, and he sort of came on and he said, "I exhort every member of the body of Christ to vote for my son." Oh, God.
It's just like...
Me.
No, it's
that's the most awful things I've seen it.
It's just, yeah, the moment I saw that, I just thought, like, oh, that's the kind of bag of fruit and nuts he's come from, is it?
Yeah.
God, yeah, no, I think the worst thing for me is probably the 21-hour filibuster against Obamacare, which was just fucking inhumane, really.
Just awful.
Yeah.
Complete ignorant lack of understanding of how the healthcare system works and what would be good for the country. No.
Yeah. Yeah, quite detestable person, really. But, yeah, apart from that, really, it seems like the American political race has really kind of just gone down to ground zero, really, now. There's not been too much action, really, over the last couple of months apart from that.
No, it was... The writing was on the wall after New York. It was going to be Trump versus Clinton. That much was clear.
Yeah.
It's sort of quite sad how it's become almost like a reality show, the sort of thing that Trump used to host.
Yeah.
Just the fact that we've all picked our favourites and we hope they don't get kicked off at the next round.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, it's quite sort of a freak show sort of thing, really. It's quite tragic. I mean, if someone votes for a particular candidate, it's their right, but at the same time, I'd rather have it be in a civilised, orderly way when the race just...
It descended into, at its worst point just before New York. Donald Trump and what was his name, Marco Rubio, got into a literal penis measuring contest. Where Marco Rubio accused Trump of having a small penis, and Trump said, no, he has a small penis. Oh my goodness me. And of course Trump deliberately incited violence at his rallies.
I don't think he's actually done that, to be honest.
He sort of said somebody punched him on the way out and things like that. And he very clearly wasn't
it's more so the fact that I think people have run up to him because they don't like his views and just tried to clobber him. He's not gone out of his way directly to fight people, and it's more so been recently that when people attacked his supporters, I think it was Chicago, wasn't it? It was the demonstrators against him who instigated it. I mean, I'm not saying, of course, he's absolvable, but it's just like...
people very definitely deliberately went to his rallies to provoke a fight, that much is clear.
Yeah, but very
But who
rarely.
threw the first punch varies from case to case.
Yeah,
But no, the fact that the race for the most powerful man in the world has sort of descended into that got a bit depressing at the end of it.
I think it's mostly been from the most of the violence has been at his rallies has been instigated by protesters against him, though. To be honest, from most accounts, but yeah, it's like overall, it's just the fact that this race has just descended into just a cavalcade of just dickwittery and just absolute nonsensical bollocks. And you think, even like as recently as like the last election, it was still really quite civil, despite some like salt thrown back and forth. It was still remarkably civil, and
Yeah, well, I don't know about that necessarily. I mean, this is the first election, certainly, that I've really been observing very closely, the first American election.
well, I mean, at least comparatively to a lot of political runnings over the last 5 or so years, the last election was reasonably civil. But it's just this one has just evolved into just a cavalcade of just like absolute just.
Well, there is one thing that's happened recently that is worth mentioning. Donald Trump has refused, well, sort of avoided over and over revealing his tax returns, which is something that every presidential candidate, sort of pretty much for the past century, has done in the interest of transparency. He's refused to do it.
Yeah, which is a bit sketchy.
Yeah, it is rather. Yeah. Other than that, no, there sort of hasn't been much worth saying, at least not as of the time we've been making this video.
No, I think the other things actually we did talk about recently was what we're planning to do for the summer now that our second year of university has ended. Because I mean, I said to you last night that I'm planning on doing some part-time, flexible sort of part-time cleaning work during the summer, where I'm going to be cleaning some of the halls, first-year halls at university. Because like during the summer, University of Sussex uses them as like hotels when the students aren't there, so I'm going to be cleaning them during the holidays part-time for money, and then I'm also going to try and be going to the gym at least 3 or so times a week during the summer. That's what I'm really majorly planning to do this summer, and maybe maybe go on myself on like 2 or 3 few day trips to like places like Brussels and Normandy or something like that.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan.
Not nothing too complicated really for this summer. What about you?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be here until the referendum.
Yeah.
Which of course is on the 23rd of June. Everybody go and vote. Let's get that out of the way first. So I'm going to be volunteering for the campaign a couple of times a week, in all likelihood. I'm going on Saturday. And other than that, I'm going to be going on dive trips as soon as the algae bloom has cleared up. So that will be good fun. I'm going to do a boat handling course to sort of be allowed to take the boat out when we go on diving trips, so I can drive it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and other than that, I've tried to get jobs or volunteer positions at various places, but they either wrote back saying, no, sorry, we don't have space, or this is the wrong sort of time period, we're not looking for that sort of thing, or we're very courteous, or they just didn't bother to respond at all.
I hate that when like societies or jobs just don't reply to you, even if you've failed. I think it's just like a common courtesy that you reply to them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, again, with this is something we discussed last night when we were eating at the restaurant after we'd seen the film. It's just like in the modern age, it seems like it's becoming less and less common. Like when someone's failed a job interview or a society or a volunteering application, that it's becoming less and less common to reply to them saying, "Sorry, with all due respect, you have failed." Blah 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 blah. I mean, you'd expect someone to give you the common courtesy to say, "Sorry, man, you weren't successful. Hopefully, you will have success in the future." And I've seen this happen more and more often when I've applied for jobs over the internet and in person. And it's just kind of depressing. It's just like seeming lack of just politeness and just common courtesy.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'll be able, when I'm back in Berlin, I'll be able to volunteer with someone like the Johanniter or the Order of St. John, basically. They're working with the refugees that are stationed in Berlin. They're sort of looking for hands. So hopefully I should be able to get something with them.
Yeah, I mean,
I applied to all sorts. Like I applied to various museums, both here and in Germany. I applied to the British Heart Foundation, to Oxfam, to everyone else if they need it. Oh, great, somebody's on F6.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, very few of them even bothered to reply.
Yeah, no, that seems to be quite depressingly the case at the moment. I mean, I don't know if I mean, I haven't been to the induction for this cleaning job I just said yet, which is going to be on I think they said on 7th of June or so. But I mean, it's just like even then they were like very alacrity. They responded to me with a great deal of alacrity and quickness, and they were just like very informative and stuff. And they haven't rejected me, but it's just like they were at the very least they were quick and alacrious, and even when I had sort of quite mundane sort of inquiries, they were very quick and snappy about it. And most of the time nowadays, when I apply for a job or when I see people applying for a job, it just isn't the case, and it's really weirdly depressing.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, I don't know. It seems like well, my mother certainly complains that sort of common courtesies like that have gone out the window. But in all fairness, the sort of respectable museums that I applied to did all get back, sort of saying best of luck in the future. Maybe we'll have a place for you some other time. Please feel free to apply next year, all that sort of thing. But no, for most of the other things, they just didn't. No.
Mm.
Do you want to have one more round, or actually, I've got an idea. Before we continue, shall we do the sort of quiz on the BBC News page?
What's that?
Well, they have a sort of weekly news quiz that you sort of they just click the boxes every week. Thinking we could do that just now. It's just a sort of quick thing, 5 minutes.
Yeah, let's just quickly give that a look.
Yes, hang on, I'll try and find it actually. Let's see.
Quiz of the Week's News. They just uploaded it 20 hours ago. I just searched BBC News quiz on Google search. Alright, so... Yeah, it's just loading up now on mine.
BBC. Okay, hang on, we'll do it. Hang on. Hang on, I can't see. I can't find it.
Okay.
That was a silly idea. Maybe we can do it next time or something, or we can do it.
Well, no, wait. I've got it on my computer. So, the first.
I've got it as well now. Okay, we'll do this, and then we'll have another go in the tanks.
Okay, so first question on this news quiz is why won't University of East Anglia graduates be throwing mortarboards in the air this summer? I'm pretty sure it's because they just gave the usual shitty example of it just being a health and safety hazard, which it blatantly isn't. But I'm going to say that, which is correct.
I've got a different one. I've got here Nicola Thorpe, an office worker from London, was in the news after she was sent home from work. For what reason? She was not wearing high heels.
Really?
Yeah, she was sent home from work for not wearing high heels. That's something I saw in the news. Why did I not think of that when we were doing the podcast? No, because apparently it's sort of part of the dress code. But she was wearing flats because walking around in an office for hours a day with high heels is not a good idea.
Oh.
She was sent home for a day without paying. So now everything, a sort of big fuss has been kicked up about it, and but quite right too. I mean, I don't like high heels in general. And, I think people should be allowed to choose to wear smart flat shoes.
Yeah. My next question is. This, it shows a picture of a ship. It says, this is the world's largest cruise ship, arriving in Southampton on Thursday ahead of its maiden voyage. The £783 million vessel is 361 metres long and can carry 6,780 passengers. What's her name? What's its... Fuck. That grammar, though. I'm pretty sure it's Harmony of the Seas, actually. Oh, it is. I just guessed that. It's actually called Harmony of the Seas. It features 20 restaurants, 23 swimming pools, and took more than 2.5 years to construct. Damn, that looks like a badass ship. I'd love to cruise on that, actually. Next question on mine is, in what patriotic fashion did this newlywed Chinese couple choose to spend their wedding night?
They had sex under the Chinese flag, I don't know.
I don't know. Let's see. The options are writing a letter to Barack Obama calling for better US-Chinese relations, copying out the Communist Party's 17,000-word constitution, or composing a poem praising President Xi's anti-corruption drive. I'm going to say the Communist Party's
Yeah, because
one.
they recently had their, I know that was in North Korea, wasn't it, where they had their Communist Party conference?
No, I just said copying out the Communist Party constitution, and it said it was
Yeah.
correct.
Uh-huh.
And they're both. I mean, they're both employees of the Nanchang Railway Bureau, which they said which said they were transcribing the constitution in order to create wonderful memories of their wedding night. The government is currently running a campaign encouraging people to copy out the constitution. Not going to lie, that sounds pretty dull, but to be fair, it's a cultural thing, really. So fair play to them.
Yeah, fair enough. It shows dedication, if nothing else. Okay, my one here is, which two countries are David Cameron accused of being fantastically corrupt?
China and Saudi Arabia, wasn't it?
No, it's Afghanistan and Nigeria. Let me
Damn
check.
it.
Yes, it's right.
Okay, my question is, Leicester City footballers have spent the week celebrating their victory in winning the Premier League. On Monday, they took part in a parade in Leicester City itself. Here they are on Wednesday, continuing their celebrations in which city? I think it's Dubai. No, no, it's Bangkok actually. Oh yeah, no, that's right, because they're because Leicester City's owner is a Thai billionaire called I don't even know how to pronounce that surname. Vichai is his first name, but his surname is quite long-winded for me, for an ignorant Englishman as I. Next question is, watching pornography a few times a week is associated with an increase in which other behaviour, according to new research from the US?
Oh gosh, is that
Overeating? Wrong. It's being more religious. Really?
what?
Apparently, watching more porn is in accordance with being over religious. I'm sorry, but I watch porn a lot, and I am not religious at all. I'm quite an abstentious atheist, and I've been so since I was at least 13, so I would say that's bullshit.
I know, it kind of makes sense. I mean, if they're also sort of sexually repressed, they need an outlet of some kind.
Well,
My question is, what discovery has 15-year-old Canadian teenager William Gaddery made? A lost mine city. B, a species of a new planet. I think it's a new planet. Oh, wait, no, it's Lost Mine City. That's right. I heard about that. Yeah. Teenager says he located an ancient city site using Google Earth images. He was testing out his own theory that Central American civilization planned their cities and towns according to star constellations.
I bet you runs a conspiracy theory blog.
Yeah, he says the discovery is being treated with skepticism by archaeologists.
Yeah. My next one is, what's unusual about the newly opened National Palestinian Museum? One is it has no exhibits. Two, it has no roof. Or three, it's illuminated by candles. I'm going to say it has no roof. Wrong. It has no exhibits. What?
What?
It has no exhibits. The building near the town of Brezit is intended to tell the story of the Palestinian people, but at the moment it's completely empty. The museum's chairman defended the situation, saying, "We wanted to stick to a date, so we decided to open now rather than wait for the inaugural exhibition." Which seems a bit strong-headed, if I'm honest. Then my last question is, this Shetland pony gave a star performance at the Queen's 90th birthday celebration event at Windsor on Sunday night. Which singing star did the pony accompany and apparently upstage? Which, I'm going to say Shirley Bassey? No, it was Kylie Minogue. Fuck. Well, I got that mostly wrong. I ended up having 7 questions and I only got 3 of them correct.
Yeah, I had 4 correct. Woo, I win. Now, my final one was, what activity have Chinese women been banned from live streaming on the internet?
I don't know, Tumblr?
No, the answer is eating bananas. Because they do it in a seductive and erotic fashion, and the Chinese authorities have been clamping down on that.
Oof.
Now, apparently it's big business in China. People film themselves eating online, live streaming it.
Well, rather attractive ladies eating bananas on the internet is something old pervy Uncle Gitbag isn't going to complain about. Oi oi, wink wink, nudge nudge. Get out the whiskey, lads.
Uh,
Everyone's going to think I'm a fucking weirdo after that, but to be honest with you,
oh dear, oh dear, oh
they
dear.
probably already do, to be honest.
Yeah, that was fun. We'll see what the response to that is. That may be a sort of regular thing. If we do a weekly podcast, we do the weekly news quiz each time.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see how that works out. Maybe they sort of want to break from the World of Tanks action.
Maybe.
Oh well. Okay, we're going in with the togs again, are we?
Yeah. So, I guess last thing would just be to say, what are you going to be doing over the next few days?
Over the next few days, well, I will be probably going out hiking a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go for a hike up across from where I live to the university, which goes through some nice parkland, and then I'm going to hike from there to probably Lewis.
Yeah.
I think that should be quite fun. Who else? Who knows where else I might go?
Mm.
So yeah, I'll be doing that, and I'll be volunteering with the referendum campaign, and yeah, so that'll be my weekend for the most part.
Yeah.
Other than that, yes. Okay, let's get moving. Can't end this on a high.
I'm not going to be doing too much this week. I'm going to be doing an induction at about 11 in the morning tomorrow at the University of Sussex gym. Tonight I'm going to be heating up a nice tin of Belgian cassoulet for dinner. Then tomorrow night I'm going to have some fish and chips, and then I'm going to go watch the game on between Crystal Palace and Manchester United on Sky Sports, the University of Sussex pub on campus. Sunday I'm probably just going to do a chill out, maybe write a blog, edit a couple of videos, and then Monday I'm going to be going to the gym again at 10 in the morning to do a little program introduction. So pretty standard weekend for me, to be honest.
Ah, sounds good.
Yeah, no, it's nice and chilled out. Not got too much to do really. It's quite nice to be doing a bit of exercise. Really looking forward to my tin of cassoulet in a bit. I'm quite hungry, and my dad recently went to Belgium on another one of his art gallery trips, and whenever he comes back, he always brings us back something, a little bit nice Belgian food. Last time he brought us back a tin of cassoulet, a jar of mustard, and something else. And then this time when he came back, he brought me a box of nice truffles and 3 really nice big tins of cassoulet. It's just lovely. Even the tinned cassoulet is still really lovely. I mean, of course, it's nicer if you get it from a restaurant or if it's homemade, but even tinned, it is still gorgeous. It's still very, very nice stuff, and you don't really even have to add anything to it, to be honest.
No, that's good. It's sort of bean and sausage stew, right?
Yeah, kind of. It's more like a casserole, really. But it is very, very nice stuff. I quite like I think Belgian food myself is. I think it's quite underrated. It's kind of a weird mixture of like Dutch, Spanish, French, German food. It's a weird mix of stuff, but it is quite a nice cuisine, actually, to be honest. I mean, I do have a bit of bias because I used to live in Belgium for a bit, but yeah, no, the food there is quite sublime.
I shall be sure to check it out.
One thing I always do when I go on holiday there is I always set aside like about 45 euros or so I can get myself just a big hamper of food from the supermarket when I go back, because even the food from the supermarket in Belgium is just lovely. That was a garbage map.
Yeah, it was rather. Oh well.
To be honest with you, the main draw of these episodes is really just the conversation, I think.
Yes, indeed. We had a pretty good set of games the other night when we weren't sort of talking. We were properly concentrating on the game.
Yeah, I might do another episode of this podcast with someone else in the next few days, because I've had a couple of people who were saying to me, "Oh, I'd like to do one as well." But yeah, as always, as with the last 3 episodes, I always got to hand it to you. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming on here. as always.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, so if you guys want to check out Flashsuppressor at all, go ahead. And if you would like to, please check out my blog and second channel in the video description below. Sorry if this video again was a bit rambly, but like I said in the first 3 episodes, it's kind of just more so of an excuse for me and my guests to just talk about what we've been doing, just chat about recent news stuff, and just ramble a bit, I suppose. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one. I think we've talked about a bit more of a varied sort of range of topics this time. It was a lot like less sort of solidly substantial topics each one, but I think there was a bigger variety this time, if you see what I mean.
Yes, definitely. We varied it up a bit. Didn't just do our usual sort of video game and TV series thing. We talked a bit about film. We did a short semi-film review.
Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's good to sort of variate it up a bit, I do think. So, yeah, thanks for coming on and helping out with that. And, yeah, so I suppose the last thing to do would be to give a little outro, wouldn't it? So, as always, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video as much as we have had making it, playing it, recording it, and, you know, researching for it and all that sort of good shit. And I hope you guys will stay tuned for the next much overdue episode of this podcast. And as always, have fun, stay safe, don't do anything I wouldn't do, take care in whatever you're doing. And until next time, I've been Gitbag the Great.
And I've been Flashsuppressor.
And we'll see you guys next time on the battlefield. Just for an outro. Phil?
Alright. I'll see you, but you won't see me coming.
That just sounded a bit...
Yeah, I should have thought that too before I said it. Why did I say that?
God damn it, Phil, you fucked up!
Sorry, okay. This is Flashsuppressor signing out.
I will see you guys on the battlefield. Bye-bye for now.